Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is March 23rd, 2023, and just yesterday the brand new visa bulletin for April 2023 came out, so we're gonna be talking about the visa bulletin. Now in this video I will help you understand how to estimate roughly, but still have an idea of how long until the immigrant visa becomes available for your beneficiary in your family immigration petition. We're not going to concentrate on any of the employment categories or diversity visa, just a family immigration. Keep that in mind in this video. We will compare the numbers from the previous month, March 2023, and see if there is any movement at all. I will explain how to navigate the visa bulletin in general if you have never dealt with it before. I have made the video specifically on March, but in that video I said that every month the new visa bulletin is going to be coming out. I will be making a separate video basically briefly explaining the visa bulletin and then concentrating on the numbers, seeing how much of the backlog there is and why there is a backlog, and just giving rough estimates. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide in my videos on this channel are directly from official government sources. Usually it is USCIS and the Department of State. In this case it's just going to be the Department of State. So I have two visa bulletins open in front of me from March 2023 and the one that came out yesterday from April 2023. So let me briefly describe what visa bulletin is and what these numbers mean, what these categories mean. So let's start from the very beginning. If you are starting a family immigration petition, I-130 petition for alien relative, depending on which category, depending on where you are filing from, depending on the chargeability area of the beneficiary, there is a certain amount of time that you have to wait until the immigrant visa becomes available for your beneficiary. You start the process with USCIS. Once the USCIS approves the case, they transfer it to the NVC, to the Department of State for further processing. Once you get documentarily qualified with the NVC, the case is transferred to the local US embassy for a visa interview, where your beneficiary, your, whatever relative that you are inviting, goes to the interview and basically gets that immigrant visa. Until it happens, however, the immigrant visa has to become available. Unfortunately, for a lot of categories, and if you're not familiar, you will find out in this video, for a lot of categories, this number of visas that is being issued every year is limited, is capped. All right, so if there are more applications that are being submitted, right, in that family immigration category in general, then the immigrant visas are issued, as you can imagine, it accumulates a line, a backlog. They call it a backlog. So visa bulletin, the whole purpose of the visa bulletin is to show really everyone who is involved in the process, whether it's attorneys, whether it is immigration officers, or whether it is us individuals, applicants, petitioners, beneficiaries, estimate how long it is approximately that they will have to wait until that immigrant visa becomes available. So let's talk about the categories. Obviously, depending on whether you are legal permanent resident or US citizen, and you're probably already familiar with it. If you are a legal permanent resident, then you can invite spouse, children, all right? If you are a US citizen, then you can invite spouse, children, and then you can invite parents, and you can also invite siblings, brothers, sisters. So there are a few categories that are listed here. Let's talk about them briefly, and then we will talk about the graphs that are available, that are the actual visa bulletin, showing the actual numbers. So the categories that are going to be part of the visa bulletin are: first priority category, F1. Unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens. Now this is all it says here, but this is actually for unmarried sons and daughters over 21. Okay, so if you're under 21, then this does not apply to you. That's where the term aging out comes into play. This is for over 21. There's the second priority categories: spouses and children and unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residents. Again, spouses and children and unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residence. There's two categories within that two subcategories within that category. There's F2A, spouses and children of permanent residents, and F2B, unmarried sons and daughters 21 years of age or older of permanent residents. Again, unmarried, F2B. There's a third priority category, which is married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, and then there is a fourth priority, F4, brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens. Now, you probably are wondering, okay, so what about parents? Why our parents are not on this list? Well, because the parents are considered, if you are a U.S. citizen and you're petitioning for a parent, then they don't fall in any of these categories. There is actually no cap at all for those visas. So once your petition with USCIS is approved, once you're documentarily qualified with NVC, the immigrant visa is already available. It's just a matter of processing of NVC, forwarding the case to the local US embassy, them scheduling the interview, and then your parent doing the medical examination and going for an interview. Pretty straightforward. The same thing goes for the spouses. Most of the times they don't have to wait anything at all except the processing with USS and the NVC of US citizens. If it's permanent residence, however, it kind of drops a little bit and there is a little bit of the wait. Okay, so now you briefly understand. If I'm going too fast, I really apologize. The reason why I'm going a little bit faster is because I've already done kind of an introduction video where I kind of in detail go about these categories. It's for the March 2023, but don't worry about, if you don't want to watch that, that's fine. Just drop your comments, your questions in the comments below, and I will be happy to address it. As some of you know, if you have been subscribed to this channel, almost every day now, I go through all of the comments that I receive. I have them open in front of me all the time, and I make the videos by volume where I go through each comment, question, and answer them in the video. And then once I answer it, I let the person know, whoever asked the question. But let's move on now to the two graphs that we have here. You notice that there is a graph A and there is a graph B. And again, I'm going to briefly explain why there are two different dates. So let's start with graph B. Dates for filing family-sponsored visa application. So this one shows dates for filing. Now, what does it mean, dates for filing? It means whenever the initial petition I-130 was submitted to USCIS, and the date of filing is the date that can be found on that initial receipt, the very first receipt that you received from USCIS saying that, hey, we have received your I-130 petition for the certain beneficiary. We have accepted this petition. All right, it is now in process. The date that is on the receipt is the date for filing. So if your case is still not an NVC, if your case is maybe at NVC but you haven't received any, you're not documentarily qualified yet, none of that is happening, so and you still want to do the estimate, that is the dates, that is the graph that you will be referring to. Now let's move on to the graph A now, final action dates for family-sponsored preference cases. The final action dates are the dates when the final action was taken on your case. And the final action is taken by the NVC, which means it's basically referring to when you were documentarily qualified. So if you're not familiar, if your petition did not get to that stage yet, like I said, once it is approved by USCIS, it is transferred to the NVC for further processing. NVC now, they want to establish pretty much exactly the same stuff that USCIS did, your relationship to the beneficiary, all that good stuff, plus your ability being a sponsor. So now you're submitting all your financial documents, your tax returns, tax transcripts, you're filling out the affidavit of support, all of that stuff. Once you submit all of that stuff, once you pay all the fees through the NVC portal, when it is all reviewed, if the NVC responds to you and says, okay, we have accepted all your documents, everything is good, we're going to be transferring your case to the local US embassy to schedule the interview. The date on that mail, right, if it's a mail or if it's an email, the date on that basically correspondence from NVC saying that you are documentarily qualified, basically, that is the final action date that is in this graph. So if you have already been documentarily qualified, you can refer to this. Personally, whenever I give my estimates, whenever I get questions in the comments on this channel and people ask, hey, I was this, I filed it back then, I documentarily qualified then, I estimate using both of these graphs. And maybe in this video, maybe we'll have an example, maybe it will come up, we will see, where I can show why sometimes it can be beneficial to use both. And if you just use one, your estimates might not be as accurate. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the dates. And once I'm done talking about the dates, we will actually do the comparison between April and May. I'm sure a lot of people want to see that because they want to see the movement, if there is any movement at all. So let me give you a few examples. Again, we're going to start with the graph B over here, in this case, dates for filing. So let's say your beneficiary is in F1 category. It is unmarried son or daughter, and you're a US citizen inviting your unmarried son or unmarried daughter. You're not inviting, you're petitioning, all right? Petitioning for your unmarried son and or daughter over 21. Keep that in mind. This is over 20. I really hope they fix this and put over 21, because this creates some confusion for some people. But yeah, keep in mind, this is over 21. So here we go, F1, and you know that you have filed, let's say you have filed that petition back in 2020, all right? You have filed the I-130 petition with USCIS back in 2020. You have received a response from USCIS saying, hey, we have received your petition in let's say August 2020, all right? That first initial receipt notice you got from USCIS in August 2020. How do you estimate approximately when the immigrant visa will become available for your unmarried son or daughter over 21 and you are a US citizen? So you look at this category, the F1 category, in the dates of filing specifically, because we know the receipt date by USCIS, not documentarily qualified by NVC, but by USCIS. So we stick to the graph B. Now let's talk briefly about the chargeability areas. And really this is very, very simple, so it's not going to create any confusion. Basically, we have China, we have India, we have Mexico, and we have Philippines. And literally everybody else, all the other countries, are within these categories. So if the example that I'm giving, you're a US citizen inviting your son or daughter over 21 and they are unmarried and they're in F1 category, if they are in China, India, Mexico, and Philippines, obviously you will use specific graphs for them. If they're anywhere else in the world, all chargeability areas. So for most people, this is going to be the graph that they will be looking at. Keep that in mind. Now, the reason why there are different chargeability areas for China, India, Mexico, Philippines, obviously, as you can imagine, the immigration numbers are heavier from these countries, from these four countries, so they have a separate chargeability category for a chargeability area for them. So let's stick to the all chargeability for this example. So you look at it and it says 08 August 2016. Now what does it mean? It means that for all of the applications that have been filed back in August 2016, right now, as of April 2023, these immigrant visas are becoming available for a category F1, sons and daughters over 21 of US citizens who have been filed, whose application has been filed back in August 2016, which means that there is a delay, and my math is pretty horrible, so please give me a break. From August 2016 to right now, April 2023, about 7 years of delay. So if you submit the petition right this very moment, roughly, very rough estimate, unless things speed up significantly, you're looking at about 7 years for that immigrant visa to become available for your beneficiary in F1 specifically category. Now, with our example, with the father who filed back in 2020 for their son, who is over 21, unmarried, and the father is a US citizen, filed it in August 2020. They're processing in from August 2016, which means for that particular case, in our example, there is 4 years of delay. So as of right now in 2023, we can roughly estimate that the person will be waiting about another 4 years in order to wait, no, actually, no, never mind. Another 3 years, because they have already been waiting for 4 years, because the total backlog is 7 years. You see, my math is horrible, but even if I'm getting confused with my own math, I think for people with normal math skills, it will become available. You know, this is one of the things that you get into law, and then you realize that just because it's law, it doesn't mean you're not dealing with math at all. But I think it should be understandable to you by now what I mean about rough estimates. Now, why are they rough, and why it depends on whether things speed up or slow down. Now let's talk about the comparison between the April 2023 and the March 2023, because this will really help us make the estimates if this backlog is moving along or not. Okay, so I'm gonna put it like this so we can kind of go back to back, and we're gonna move down. This is March 2023, and we're gonna move down the same way that it is here, a little bit higher up. There you go. Okay, so now we have pretty much exactly on the same line for the top, which is the cases that have been already documentarily qualified. So we'll stick to this date, and I moved it by accident. We're gonna put it like that. So if we compare the two, this is April, this is March. Now the numbers that have been here, as you can see, wow, is there any movement at all? So from the existing stuff, there's absolutely no movement. This is really sad. For the NVC processing, there's absolutely no movement except in the F2A category, which is spouses and children of permanent resident, which, as you can see in March, used to be current. And it used to be current because there is no cap on those visa categories. Those, once you are documentarily qualified with NVC, the immigrant visa is already available. So that's why you see C over here, which means current. However, in April 2023, it's no longer current, and now we have a backlog of about 3 years, roughly, a little bit less than 3 years, which is really, really sad to see. It means that even the categories where visa is always available, there is a backlog. And the reason for that, obviously, is because of the accumulation of all of the cases that are being processed. And so, to all the questions that, I'm receiving regularly questions, specifically for this particular category, F2A, and people are waiting for their interviews to be scheduled, and they have been already documentarily qualified, and nothing is happening. The reason why nothing is happening, unfortunately, now we know. We had to wait until April 2023 to find out that they are still processing cases from September 2020, which is about 2.5 years of backlog, which means that if you just recently have been documentarily qualified, with your petition have been just recently documentarily qualified, and you are in F2A category, you are roughly looking at another 2.5 years before your interview is scheduled. Okay, so let's look at we'll do the same comparison with the date of filing, and then I will talk a little bit about why there is this backlog, why there is such a problem in general, and hopefully raise a little bit of the awareness whenever it comes to this kind of stuff, because a lot of people do not realize the problem with with the availability of the immigrant visas, because they look at this stuff like, I'm a citizen, I'm inviting my child, okay, so they're over 21, so what's the big deal? Okay, maybe I'll wait a little bit extra, maybe I'll wait another 6 months extra, and that's it. And then once they actually submit the petition, and once they actually get into understanding of the visa bulletin and understanding the categories, looking at the F1 category and unmarried over 21, and then they realize that there is a 7 years of delay. 7 years! Can you imagine, as a US citizen, someone who if you're an immigrant like myself, and I can personally relate because I do have a petition that the beneficiary, that me and the beneficiary, we will be waiting for another 13 years. If my math is correct, basically 2007, there's a delay since 2007, and that is total of 16 years, and it's all been already about 2-3 years, so 13 years. So I can personally relate. And when I make these videos, I'm not just making these videos as someone who is just random person trying to make a video on YouTube so that it's being watched or something like that. No, this is personal stuff to me. I am an immigrant myself. I have the petition myself. I've been through a very, very lengthy. My immigration process took me about 15 years, going through interviews, going through the background checks, medical examinations, probably 10 background checks total, probably 4 or 5 different interviews, 6 or 7 court hearings. It was very lengthy. It was very complicated. So me making these videos, I want to help other immigrants. I want to help other people, and also raise awareness with the problems like this, because visa backlog is a huge problem. Immigrant visa backlog is a huge problem. So let's do a comparison now for the people who have filed. Now the dates of filing, if we look at the March 2023 and April 2023, let's see if I can spot. Looks like exactly the same stuff. Absolutely no difference. Absolutely no difference between the March, April, and April 2023. And again, that is sad. It's not as sad as this, because this actually got worse with the F2A categories. But no movement, it is sad, which means that the month goes by, but even a month, there is not a movement even for a month in the visa bulletin, which is really bad. It means that the processing, the availability of these immigrant visas, they just cannot keep up with it. Now the thing that you probably are wondering, why there is the backlog in general, why there's a backlog. Well, there are many reasons why there is a backlog. First of all, the initial core problem of the visa backlog in general is the fact that these immigrant visas are limited. All right, there is a limited availability that is issued every year, and if you really want to dig into the numbers, how many visas are being issued, you can find all of that information on the Department of State, and here it briefly kind of illustrates it. 23,000, 114,000, a certain percentage of a certain preference. So if you really want to dig into it, I'm not going to dig into it into this video, you can. But the fact is that there is less immigrant visas that are available each year than the petitions. So each year there's more petitions than the immigrant visas that are available. So as the older petitions get processed and the visas become available for those petitions, there is like 2-3 new petitions that are coming in, and that obviously the backlog, it's, as you can see in this case, either stays the same, and in some categories growth, and in some instances it gets longer. All right, now there's also things like whatever political changes in the immigration reform, some kind of unforeseen circumstances like with this pandemic that we had a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. And obviously during that time no immigrant visas were issued at all. The US embassies were completely closed. They were not issuing visas at all. So of course that, on top of an existing backlog, it created another kind of artificial backlog, because this is more of a, I would say this is an artificial backlog as well. Because why? Because, well, they limited the number of immigrant visas themselves. It's not like naturally there's just a lot of people and that they cannot keep up. No, they limited the number of the visas. And that kind of raises a question, which would be a good question to ask your elected official in where you live, is like, why is there a cap on these visas? If you're a US citizen if you're a legal permanent resident, if you've done everything legally, if you went through the process, through the interviews, through the background checks, and if you are willing to pay for your beneficiary, your son, your daughter, your husband, wife, your parents, your brother, sister, you're paying for them, you are sponsoring them. They are going through the same background checks, they are going through the same medical examinations, they are going through the same interviews, they are doing everything legally. To come here, live here legally, work here legally, pay the taxes. Why is the number for those people limited? Okay, so that would be the question for people that we have in Congress, because it is the Congress that sets these numbers. And unfortunately, the people that we have in Congress, most of them, they have absolutely no idea whenever it comes to immigration. For them, immigration it's what is presented on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and dumb stuff that has really nothing to do with real immigration, because this is immigration, because this is what the people deal with whenever it comes to the actual immigration. So unfortunately, with this video, not a lot of good news. Unfortunately, I wish I could give you something that you could have watched and you could have been like, okay, great, this is reassuring. Unfortunately, it's not the case. All I can say is let's hope that in May things speed up a little bit. I will be making another video in May 2023 once the May visa bulletin comes out. But if you have any questions as of right now, you're very welcome to ask them in the comments below. I will be happy to address them. As always, thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I will see you in the next video.